Hey guys, my name is Stephen Edhamian, and welcome to another episode of Standing for Greatness in the Mile High, where we look to inspire and be inspired for some of the greatest people I know, leaders in the community, great fathers, great husbands, and just people that I really admire and look up to. So today's guest, we have Dana Gistler. He is not only the past vice president of Beacon, which is now QXO, after they've been acquired by a very large, prestigious, successful company. But he is also now the nation's leading salesperson in the company, and that is in the nation. And so, as far as Dana goes, all the accolades are great, but the things I love about Dana is his love for family, for friends, his ability to be authentic and genuine. And, I don't believe it was anything outside of all of that that has helped him get to the top. So I'm looking forward to diving in to more of that with you, Dana, and just to hear more about your story, what how you focus on those things. Because what I really want people to understand in any industry is genuine relationships. Sales is one thing, but when you're authentic and you're genuine and you have a past, which we all do, and we overcome those obstacles and we work with people, when you allow people to see your heart and who you are as a person, and you put priorities first, like I know you do, how that impacts your community, your day-to-day work life, and gets you to the top. And so I'm really happy to hear about some of that story. Is it okay if we get into it?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be in that classification of what you just mentioned. So yeah, I've been looking forward to this, and yeah, happy to dive in.
Okay, great. So for people who don't know your story, Dana, take us back to the beginning. Who were you kind of before the success? Like, let's take us back to like 20-year-old Dana. Like, what was life like? Like, what was in your mind? Like, here you are, like this fit, successful, family-oriented guy. Like, what was life like before all that? Take us back to like 20-year-old Dana. What were we doing?
Man, that's seems like a long time ago. 20-year-old me, man, I was very much still trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do when I grew up. So. My background, I grew up on a farm, central Nebraska, small town Nebraska. And, through that point, man, it's really a lot of what I knew, being small town, growing up a farm and my family, my dad had me working on the farms and, a very, very young age, right? As I grew up and kind of got into that era, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I'd kind of decided that, that I didn't want to go down the farming path. But I didn't know exactly sure what I wanted to do, right? So I was going to college. I tried a few different things, and it took me a while to kind of figure it out. And eventually, I had some friends that had got into this cool program I hadn't even heard of called industrial distribution out of the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and asked me to give it a try. I think I went to like informational night, whatever, and went there and I saw these some of these guys going on having pretty solid careers in other places, and it kind of seemed like it was kind of one of those rare degrees that actually transferred to the real world, like you actually did in the real world what you went to school for, so it all kind of connected. I saw like a clear path, and at that point when I kind of figured that out, it all kind of clicked. I mean, I fell in love with this distribution world. It took me a few years beyond that to realize I was going to end up in.
Now, is this like roofing distribution, or is this like industrial?
Yeah, industrial.
Okay.
The program is called industrial distribution. So folks went into electrical distribution, plumbing distribution, roofing distribution.
Yeah.
A variety of different things, and so just distribution as a whole.
Yeah.
Some people went into medical supply distribution. To be honest, I decided before I graduated, that I was going to get into roofing distribution.
Yeah.
To be honest, I kind of got made fun of because people would give me crap, like
It's kind of gruff back then. Like, yeah,
you're gonna
roofing.
go sell roofing, haha. Like you're selling roofing, man. Like, what are you doing? I got kind of made fun of for it in a way, but didn't stop me.
Yeah.
So So there my path kind of got defined once I figured that
And
out.
how old were you at that point?
Oh, I was in school for longer than I should have been. But it was probably, what was I, 24, 23, 24?
All right.
Somewhere there? No, not quite that old. I don't know.
Young 20s, early 20s.
Early 20s when I kind of figured that out. So that was nice to figure that out. And it was a very distinct path, man. I mean, I'm still in it, right? So once I
So you figured it out pretty early.
At least career-wise, I knew where I was going, right? And I was on that path. That took me from Kearney, Nebraska, which is really central Nebraska, which is really the only thing I knew, to the big city of Kansas City, to kind of start my career.
Yep.
So yeah, it was nice to figure out that kind of distinct path, at least career-wise.
All right. As you're saying that, knowing what I know about you, this confident man of faith. I mean, was that something? Is confidence something you had to discover down the road? This leadership mentality, this confidence, like, was that always ingrained in you as far as faith? I know you come from a good home and you're close with family. I mean, is that something you had to kind of grow and discover along the way? I know for me personally, like, high school was really hard for me, right? Like, I would go to high school and I just never knew where I fit in or felt like I fit in. And I knew everybody and everybody knew me, but I never felt like, so high school for me was really hard. And it wasn't until later in life when I kind of like, got my my feet under me a little bit and kind of started to discover who I am and some of the talents I have. And granted, I maybe not always applied them in the right direction, but I knew that they were there, and God had to kind of keep taking me I would fight God. I would go down a path and he'd say, no, I want you over here. And I would kind of fight that. And a lot of that just had to do with my past and my background. But eventually, he got me where I needed to be. But just with you, it's like, how did that all look as far as faith and confidence and all that?
Yeah, I think the confidence has always been there, but the confidence has changed from that time period to now. I think my early confidence was more kind of like a cocky confidence. I was young. I was a pretty good athlete, growing up, so I had all that. It was kind of more of that kind of cocky confidence nature.
So you need to be more humbled. Some people need confidence 100%. And some people need humbled, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that then. You had the confidence. So what was the humbling point along the path? I have two questions. So what was the humbling point where you realized, okay, where does humility kick in? Then also, what did they see in you? Obviously, we've already talked about you became vice president. I kind of want to know what that looked like and what they saw in you, and what was the grind to get to that place in life? Because that had to be a big changing moment for you when they said, hey, this is the position we want to offer you.
Yeah, I think we'll get to some of the humble stuff here down this
So
path,
it took a while.
It took a while. There's many steps to.
You kept getting boosted and boosted and boosted, and at some point you just your ego.
Many steps to that, but like once I figured out what I wanted to do, right? Like I was all in.
You got
right?
your insight. Yep.
I got into those classes, and I outperformed. I was like, I knew what I wanted to do. I saw the goal there for me.
You had the confidence. You went out. You were doing it.
So I put in the work. I performed very well in those college classes because I knew exactly what I was going to be doing and where I wanted to get to. So I performed well in college, and I think back then it was a company called Shelter Distribution, later acquired by Beacon, whatever. So some of my friends had gone to work for that company before, kind of got me some introductions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think they saw, the confidence. I think they saw, my willingness to work hard.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than anything, and that was instilled in me from a very, very, very young age.
Yeah, farmer from Nebraska.
I mean, my dad is to this day the hardest working guy I know.
Yeah.
By far, and is a big reason why I'm here today.
Yeah.
Is because of him and learning that work ethic, and so I've always had that. So I think they saw that. I think they saw that I was personable. That I you
had all the qualities that they were looking for.
Yeah. So so that that got me into the organization, and then I came in as a manager in training is what they called it back then, or basically a trainee, which pretty much meant you did whatever job you were asked to do, right? And that's literally what it was. I carried a CDL with me from my days on the farm, so when I started off in this business, man, no kidding. I mean, a good amount of that time starting off was spent driving a truck, loading roofs.
Yeah.
I would go on 3-hour, road trips in a semi to go deliver shingles. I'd sell
Loading
it.
roofs is no joke.
Yeah, a lot of times I'd sell it, and I would also deliver it. So I was willing to do whatever it took, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I worked in the warehouse. I literally had
Yeah,
worked
you're young, you're fit. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, whatever they threw at me, I was gonna do, right? And so I think they saw that. I think they saw that mentality.
Yeah.
That I was.
You're gonna do whatever
I was
it
gonna
takes.
do whatever it took. Which is what I did. So, the opportunities and the advancements came very rapidly.
So let's skip to that. Like,
Yeah.
okay, they call you in the office. They say, all right, Dana, we have the opportunity of a lifetime. You're going to be the vice president. And here's your big reward, right? Sometimes, and I'll tell you for my life, sometimes the big reward can also be a curse, because what happened, and I know with me, is, I worked really hard to get to where I'm at, and God obviously did something amazing, and he blessed me with an opportunity to own Red Rock Roofing, which sponsors this. And the day that I found success was beautiful, and it opened up all these opportunities. But as I started to go down that road a little bit, there's almost this invincible feeling, and we have to, it's like you get to this place and you forgot how you got to that place and what God did for you. And then you feel like, especially with family, like, what could I provide? Look what I'm doing. You kind of like let the accolades and the success define you, which then you have to find that path back around, that is not your identifier, and how do you get back to that? And so when you got that call and you came in, what was that like? Number one is like, all right, and then where did that lead you? Because knowing your story, kind of like, here's your reward, here's the success, and then all of a sudden you kind of went down that same path, which most people do when success is given. And so we have to rediscover what it looks like to be successful, have the accolades, and still be that humble, hardworking person. So
yeah, it took a while to get to that VP spot. It took me, I think it was 7 or 8 years probably, and a bunch of different promotions in between.
But you're like
right?
still
and
in your 20s. You're almost
right?
30.
So,
so how old were you when you? Well, go ahead.
So it took a handful of years to get there, but I was willing to take any opportunity.
Yeah, what's the next?
Move wherever I needed to move, really, to get to that spot, right? I mean, that was my goal. I mean, I looked up to a lot of the VPs that were there, and I'm like, man, those guys, they have it, right?
Yeah.
They got the charisma. They look nice. They're fit for the most part. They had that life that I wanted to get to.
Yeah, you admired them. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but it did come pretty quickly, and it was in my early 30s when I got that nod to become a VP. But you mentioned something that really stuck in my mind, is like you kind of get this invincible feeling. Right?
Yeah.
Like you have all the success and you have it very quickly, and it seems like every opportunity they throw in front of you, you excel at, and they just keep coming, right? And it was a great ride. It was there was so much good in that, and I enjoyed so many parts of that journey.
Especially in the beginning, because it's life-changing. It's like, it just feels like everything is finally coming.
Yeah, in your mind, like in my mind, I had this like, man, this is what success is.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm climbing the corporate ladder, right?
Finally made it.
Promotion comes, I get it. Another promotion comes, I get it. And you just keep racking up all these successes and all these different notches on the ladder. And you're like, man, you just in your mind, you're like, I'm successful. This is what success is, right?
Yeah.
But again, you kind of get that invincible feeling, like this is what it's going to continue to be. It's going to keep going and going up and up and up and up.
And
right?
life can't get any more beautiful.
Yeah.
And then at some point, life gets real.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
without too many details, I mean, what did that look like? What was that journey for you when life gets real and success only now becomes the new norm, right? Like the new norm. And then success is no longer it's like a honeymoon phase, right? It's like you first get married and you're so in love and life couldn't be better. And now it's your norm, and then you have all these challenges to face.
Yeah.
And it's no longer this exciting honeymoon phase, and it's now you're dealing with real day struggles and issues, and whether it's family or whatever it is, like I said, without details, what is that like? What was that like going through your head when you first discovered, like, okay, this is real, and you have to kind of go through that humbling phase? I could talk about mine, and
Yeah.
it was some self-discovery, and it
Yeah.
still every day
Led
is.
to a lot of that. I felt like, I got to that mountaintop, and I rode that mountaintop for a while, but then, very quickly, it went from being at the mountaintop to being back in a pretty low valley.
Yeah.
Through some challenges and some mistakes on my own, right?
Yeah.
Kind of cruising along there, looking back, I realized I'd kind of lost sight on a few things that were super important to me. It seemed like, I don't know, like for a while there, again, kind of looking back, as like that success, or what I thought was success, was all that mattered, right? And I kind of let it take me away from a few things that are very deeply rooted in me now, and maybe were before. Both in in my faith, for sure. Took a beating in that time period, and kind of in that climber when I got to that top, right? And my family too. I took them a little for granted in that time period as well. I kind of, not that I didn't love them and I give them attention and work for them, but I didn't have the focus on that very
Priorities
important
just get
piece.
little,
they definitely got shuffled.
They shifted, yeah.
Right? I don't know. I lost track of some things that really were in me, in my heart, but I wasn't making them a priority in my mind.
Yeah.
Went from that mountaintop to a deep valley, and in a hurry, and it was a shock.
This kind of makes me think of someone we all know, the story of Job, where, you're living your best life. You got this beautiful families, everything's happened, and, whether it be our own personal choices or us getting lost. And I think, like I said, many people that find success and feel like they got to the mountaintop, God always does this thing where he brings you back down. Like I said, personal choices or not, to kind of reconfigure you to understand the priorities within that success. And some people can get it right away, but it's few and far between.
Yeah.
And so, with that, I know in my personal life, redemption has just been a thing over and over and over again, where I've hit highs and lows, whether personal or circumstantial, or just not being able to control people around us. I have my own stories, but with you knowing your story, redemption played a big part in that. And I think God's grace is always abounding. And so when you think of, where you were, what did it take mentally as your faith was challenged to find that redemption, and what shifts did you have to make in your life? Because, for people hearing this, we all hit these valleys. And one thing I know about you personally, Dana, is your story of redemption went from this incredibly low valley, from this incredibly high peak to this incredibly low valley, to moving yourself and reshifting your priorities without losing your success and still maintaining on the top. What is that like for you mentally? What is your daily habits? What is your daily focuses? And what did you have to do to get yourself through that without destroying yourself, mentally, if that makes sense?
Yeah. It took me a while to figure that out again, right? I don't know. I guess maybe I'm a slow learner, since like everything I say, it took me a while.
Most
right?
men are.
But when I found myself in that valley, man, there were parts of it that were really good. I found some really good things in that valley quickly, like early in that valley, right? I all of a sudden had a lot more time to kind of refocus.
Relook at yourself,
right? Yeah. So I had that time, and man, I used that up so much. My daughter Kinsley was pretty young at that point in life, right? So God, I got to spend so much additional time with her, that I adore to these days. And I look back, and it was a blessing to be where I was at that point in time, right? Because she was young, she was in preschool. I mean, I would take her to preschool every morning, I'd pick her up every night, and we were just doing things like nonstop. Like, I got that very intimate time with her at a very young age that I think was very important for both her and for me.
Yeah.
Right. So that piece of it was phenomenal. A lot of the other stuff in that valley was not for a while, and it took me a few years to start digging my way out of it. Professionally at that point in time, I mean, I was trying to figure out what the next step was, right?
Yeah.
I tried several different things, a few different companies, and there was a little bit of good in there, but just like it never was the right fit. And it seemed like I always figured out pretty quickly that it was, man, this is gonna be hard to find the fit that I want.
Yeah, this is just not.
But at the same time, I still had my eyes set like back on that mountaintop.
Yeah.
Right.
Like how do I get back?
Like I would very much, every focus was like, how do I get back to that point, and how do I do it quickly? That's what I was focused on. So these opportunities I'd look at, I was selective, but I was like looking at anything that would get me back to that mountaintop, right? Because that's what I'd gotten so used to.
Yeah.
And so that kind of threw me off, in that time, because that's all I was focused on. But that kind of led to like trying out so many different things to try to figure it out. And
it kind of makes me think of like when the trophy is the end goal, then it never get to it, and it's never the reward, right? It's like the journey. It's like so
for sure. And I had a hard time finding that. I didn't find that well, actually, I will say I never found that.
Yeah.
That specific mountaintop I was looking for, I never found it again. But then that kind of turned into like resentment and like personal hate in a way, right? I started like,
you're mad at yourself,
pissed at myself. Like
I blew it. Yeah.
I would look back and be like, God, I had it so good. Like, what did I,
yeah.
what did I do? Why did I do that? And that kind of turned into like, for years, couple years at least, like I was just like resenting myself. I couldn't forgive myself.
Yeah, I was thinking. So now you got to go down this personal journey of how do I forgive myself, and this is like that, like the greatest part of this redemption story, I think.
Yeah. So that was hard to do. I beat myself up for a couple years, right? And I was thinking like, man, how can I ever get past this? How can I ever forgive myself? How can I ever fit back into that industry and that life that I loved? And I would, even though my family was always there with me, thank God for my my wife and her understanding, and it was Kinsley at that time, and soon to come Blake, but they were all understanding. Of course, my kids didn't.
Yeah,
they were along. Kids were along.
Your kids love
you.
Yeah,
the kids were along for the ride, but our life changed, right? And it changed my wife's life. And she had a very good life too, and we had to move away from some of that, and it's just like all that stuff just like built up inside me.
Yeah.
And beat myself up for a long time.
It's easy to do.
In several different ways, So I'm sorry. What was your next? Was there another?
No, I want to keep going. No, you're going down the perfect road, and I think this is exactly right. Like, there's this redemption story, and it's like all these thoughts and emotions that go through, and the most beautiful part of that, I want to kind of get to your daughters too and your wife. So you have a wife named Ashley. You now have 3 daughters. Kinsley was the first, obviously. Blake, who is I think 7.
Yep. She'll be 7 in a couple weeks.
Then I remember Dana came into the office one day, and we're both older in our 40s, and he said, hey, if I have a kid, you have to have a kid. We made a bet. So Dana comes in my office one day, never did I think it would happen, and says, hey, it's you're up. And baby Lawson is born. And so we did try, and unfortunately we lost one last summer. But lo and behold, now you have 3 beautiful daughters, a wife, which I do want to hear just kind of briefly, like, how they're all different. And I know that's such a defining part of you, but so what I see is you hit this valley, you go through a lot of emotions, and you're kind of still focusing on over here, which you never got to, and some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers, and now you're exactly where you love to be. And so we're right here on the heel, so the redemption story is almost there, and you land this beautiful, and you find out like my priorities are here, and this is now how I live my life. Like, this is the redemption of, like, my family is great. This is my priorities, and this is how I live my life. That's where are we at with that?
Yeah, so I want to go back to before we get to the redemption part. I was at that low, right? And there was a particular moment in time, where I'd kind of gone through these different challenges, tried these different things, and just nothing was going where I wanted to. And I kept praying and praying and praying. And like I knew where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Back to what I thought where I wanted to go.
Yeah,
back to,
you
right?
had an idea, but what it really needed to be. So God's answered prayers once again.
God, He wasn't answering those prayers.
Well, there were selfish ambition a little.
Yeah, so it was, and I was like, man, why isn't this working out, right? But then there was a particular moment in time where I was just like, all right, this isn't going to change unless I change, and change big, and make that decision, surrender, and then be ready for the next step, right?
Yeah.
Very particular moment.
Surrender, that's a big one, yeah.
It was a very big one. And I'd heard people talk about that word for a long time. I'm like, I didn't quite get it until
a lot of times you feel like you are, but it's like we're still pushing our agenda.
Right.
Like, I'm surrendering here, but like I'm still pushing my agenda. I want my needs met. I want what I want, and I'll try to surrender in every way I can, but I still want my way.
Yeah, for up until that point in time, I'd get up, look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, man, that's not me. That's not who I want to be. And at that point in time, I figured out, I was like, all right, I have to change. I have to give in, and I did. And I started talking to people more. I found people that I wanted to be around, people that could help me, point me in the right direction, and I did that, and it was like all at once, and I invested myself into that. And man, from that point on, it was like a light bulb went off, or a lightning struck, or whatever. It's like it all changed like almost overnight, and it really did.
So when you surrendered, like, what is that? Like, it changed. Like, what did you surrender? What was like the defining changes? Like, yeah, I surrendered, but what did you surrender? And what were your daily habit changes that what did that look like? What does surrender look like?
Giving up the worst parts of me. There was a lot in there, right? I was hanging on to a lot from the past, right? So that was one thing I had to give up. I had to give up being hung up on the past, or that was never going to allow me to move forward, right?
Yeah.
I had to forgive myself.
That's huge.
And give up on that, right? At that point in time, I was probably the unhealthiest I'd ever been. I was the unhealthiest I'd ever been in my life, by far, at that point in time. And I knew that unless I got my body right, I got healthy, got my mind right, that I was just going to be stuck in that rut, right? So I stopped drinking. It's been 3.5 years almost since I've drank, right? So I gave up that piece. I felt like that was holding me back from relationships with my family, relationships with friends. It was a distraction.
Yeah.
And it was holding me back from where I wanted to be, like with my body and my mind and where I wanted to be. I always had this vision of myself health-wise of what I wanted to be, and I was always healthy. Always worked out.
Yeah,
fairly healthy.
Not,
right.
But it's like you were here, but you really wanted to be here, and it was holding you back. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I knew that had to go, right, and so gave up that, and then and part of it was like taking something on new, and at that point in time, I'm like, I turned to God and be like, literally, it's kind of one of those like you take the wheel type moments. Like, point me in the right direction. I want to live your plan, not mine that I've been trying to figure out for the last few years. And that's when my faith kind of reignited too. Was exactly at that point in time. And from there, it's just my faith journey took back off in a way it never had before.
Yeah.
In a way it never had before, not even close. Same with my health and my health, my fitness, and my mind, and my investment, my family. It all took off at that point in time because I chose to give up a lot of those things that were holding me back. From that exact point in time, I had been praying like for this the career I wanted to get back into and where I wanted to go
Yeah.
from that point forward.
Praying for like an open door, and like, what do you want?
Man, it was literally, no kidding, like 1 week later after I made that decision, I got the phone call to come back to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
1 week. We were living in Kansas City at that time. I missed Colorado badly. I missed my friends in Colorado badly. You know, I missed
just something that feels like home. You've like had this messy thing, and you're like, I just want to feel grounded and at home again. And God, I went through that's the redemption, right? Like you roll through this mud and you go through this mess and you decide to say, Lord, and God can quickly go, that's what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for. Let's go home.
Without a doubt. Yeah, one of the biggest things I wanted to get back was my home church back here in Arvada. I wanted to get back to that church community, the Spirit of Christ in Arvada. I wanted to get back there so badly. I adored that community.
It's what felt like home in your faith. It's like
100%.
I need it, and you just couldn't wait to get there.
Yep. And get Kinsley and Blake, back to
it's where you wanted your roots,
schools and back to their dances, and I wanted to get Ashley back around her friends. Like I wanted all that back in place, and literally I got that phone call, and it was like all those prayers answered. Not exactly how I had it in mind, but turns out to be way better than I had in my mind. Way better than what I had in my mind. Where I'm sitting at today, and what I came back to was not in those prayers of long ago. I realized it was God's plan. And man, that's a better plan than mine.
Yeah. I'm thinking here, I have a roofing company and I have a lot of really top sales guys and things like that. And, anytime you're working with them, I always try to encourage them, when their only focus is money and the deals and how far they can get ahead. I'm somebody who realized a long time ago that God will honor and life will find a way of providing when you put your priorities straight. So not only will you find more joy in it, but you can also find more success, which is why you're still one of the nation's top sales guys. So I always try to encourage them to, make sure you put family first and be sure to, put the phone down at certain times and make sure that you don't lose sight of the important. What I found is the guys that only chase, the dollar sometimes will find some success, but always are still stressed because success is never enough.
Yeah.
It is not the goal. So if you were to tell people today that are only chasing success and only trying to climb up that ladder, and that's what they think providing is or what success looks like, what would you tell them real success is?
Yeah, I've learned, again, the hard way. Hard learner, right?
Most people do.
I've learned that you can't dollarize success. There's not a dollar amount tied to success. There's also not a title tied to success. Now those can be a piece of it.
Yes.
A piece of
that
success,
helps provide for the priority.
If you're just looking at money as like that's the point where you're gonna be successful when you earn that particular amount of money. Because let me tell you, like if that's it, you're never gonna earn
a car,
money,
a watch, or anything like that.
A
Yeah.
watch, a title like that. That does. I've learned that doesn't define success. At least to me, right? What I've learned success is, and you touched on some of those, and this is very much how I feel today, right? And I think what helped me get to where I'm at today is being the best version of yourself, right? Like figuring out the person you want to be, the man you want to be, the woman you want to be, figuring out who that is and striving to be that, leaving the titles and the money and the other things out of it, right? Like personally, like who do you want to be? How do you want others to see you? Like when we have a conversation or you have a conversation with a stranger or meet somebody for the first time, like when you and I met, right? How do you want them to see you? The genuine you.
Yes.
How do you want to see them? That's a part of success.
Somebody once told me, people will never remember what you did or how much money you have, but they'll always remember how you make them feel. And that's one thing I love about you is anytime I talk to you, anytime you're around, you make people feel good. You are an authentic person who loves on people and genuinely cares. And that's the feeling that you give me, and I can see everybody around you. And I love that about you.
I think that's why we get along so well, man, because you do the same to me. Ever since that first day I walked into your office,
There was a good connection.
I had that feeling, and every time I come back, like, you when I walked in these doors today, I walked in these doors here today, I just like, everything just kind of let down.
Good.
You know, like it just felt at ease, you know, so yeah, very, very important point there, you know, and you know, again, kind of defining success, you know, at least to me, is being there for your family, you know, making sure that they are your number one priority, you know, God and family, number one priorities right there, right? If you keep those two in line, a lot of other things in life are going to go well.
Yes.
Right. And I didn't have that figured out for the longest time, you know, like wholeheartedly.
Well, guys have a lot of pressure, you know. We identify we want to be able to support, provide for our family, and so we try to take it into our own hands, right? Like, for someone who has faith, and we believe there's a God, but we don't believe that he'll do the things if we do what he says, right? Like, God, I know you said you'll provide if I put those priorities in order, but I need to take control of that, and I need to take it into my own hands, and I need to be, versus, like you said, the turning point from what I heard was I gave up control and I surrendered. Yeah. At that point, you still stayed at the top, but now your priorities are here, and it's all in order.
Yeah. And, you know, and through that too, like, you know, I let God lay out his plan, and I have such a comfort level now of where I'm at. Like, I know without a doubt I am 100% where I need to be right now, even just sitting in this chair. You know, I mean, no kidding. Like, I
don't doubt that one bit.
Comfortable, like, knowing I'm in the role I need to be in the job with the company, working with the people I need to. I have no doubt that this is planned now. And that I was explaining why that gives me comfort, right? Because it's not every day is easy. I mean, you know that, right? I mean, some days are an absolute challenge. You're like, man,
no,
why am I even doing
I don't know what you're talking about. Marriage is easy. Being a Christian is easy. Running a company's easy. Right. I'm right where I want to be, man. I have no challenges in my life. So,
but yeah, right. Yeah, no challenges, right? But you know, we all face those challenges. But you know, through that, I keep telling myself, like, God put me here, right? So, like, I know I'm going to get through this next challenge. I know I'm going to get to, you know, the other side of, you know, of all these challenges, because he put me exactly where I'm supposed to be, right? And so that helped kind of level me off on, you know, again, back to the title thing. Like, I'm happy to say I was there, did that, you know, climbed the ladder.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, now I'm comfortable where I'm at. Like, I love where I'm at. I want to be the
best
not
important.
I can possibly be at where I'm at. The best version of myself where I'm at.
I agree. It's nice to know when you're at the top, but at the same time, it's like me with my company. It's like, I know there's guys out there bigger, better, beat me, but I also know we're a top contender because I'm not worried about that. Yeah. I just want to be comfortable and make sure my people are taken care of, and my family, first and foremost.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we're competitive people, right? So you're you know, it's in our nature.
It's in our nature.
You know, so you're always, you know, aware of where others are at, but it doesn't.
It's not the driving factor.
Like, you want to be. I know you well enough to know, like, you want to be the best version of yourself. You want Red Rock to be the best version of itself outside of what anybody else is doing.
Yes.
Right, and that's where I want to be too. Right, like I know where others are at. Right, I mean, I look at sales numbers and all that stuff
I ask.
too, but I know what my capabilities are more than anything, right? I mean, when I came back, when God blessed me to come back here and do this job that I absolutely love, I knew what the possibilities were for myself.
Yeah.
And that's where I set my goals, right? Like, it wasn't like, oh, this person's doing X, I got to do Y. You know, it was more like, I knew what I was capable of.
Stay focused on yourself. Focused on yourself.
And then that's what I know that's what helped propel me to where I'm at, but just trying to stay focused on myself.
I've always tried to, let's focus on what we do. Let's focus on what we do best.
Yeah.
So a couple questions, and this is more personal that I wanted to know. It's not even on my. When knowing where you've gotten your priorities in a row, you're in a comfortable place, do you still fail? Some days.
Fail?
Do you still fail some days? Or
Yeah.
some days our intentions are to do everything right, keep all that in order, show up in the best version of ourselves. When you're doing everything like that and you have life figured out, do you still fail at times? Are there days where you still go, dang it, I messed that one up today?
Almost every day. I mean, dude, there's small failures in almost every day, and sometimes there's big failures.
Yes.
So, 100%. Yeah, by no way, shape, or form.
I was just making sure you're human. That's all that was.
Dude,
so you're human is what you're saying.
Yeah, I fail.
And you're a man. So you're a male and you're a human. Yeah. So let's get that on the record. Yes. He is male. He's a human, failing every day.
Yeah.
But still,
no, I'm not
just one of the most amazing guys I've ever met. And so that's what that looks like. And so,
oh, can I go back to something you asked earlier that I kind of
all right, let's do it.
Direction on. I definitely want to talk about Ashley and the girls a little bit.
No, let me get to that. Okay. No, I'm actually that's coming because I want that to be like a little thing. I just want to.
All right, man. I'll follow
because you know what? I want to end like where we just landed, like this valley, this peak, and now here we are, right? So it's like that'll end it. But for so many people out there where the past feels so heavy to overcome, like I ruined my life. There's no coming out of it. This is my life, and I think so many of us has been there. Like I know, even for me, day to day, you know, I'm a stepdad. Marriage is difficult, learning how to parent together, you know, learning how to co-parent with other parents and being step. And it's just, there's so many challenges in my life right now that just feel almost impossible to overcome. And it's so challenging along with everything else I'm trying to do. And I'm like, God, I'm trying to focus on you. I'm trying to always put my family first. Like you, it's like every moment I can spend taking my daughter to and from wherever, it's like, just trying to figure out those priorities and do it right. It's like these challenges still keep coming at me, and it's like, Lord, I just keep failing, and I'm trying to figure that out. But like to those who maybe feel like I can't get through this and I messed it all up, what would you tell them is like they just feel like it's too hard to overcome? What would you tell people, knowing where you were and where you were able to get to?
It's not easy, but you can get through it. You know, one of the things I learned the hard way again is you gotta reach out for help. You can't be afraid to reach out for help, and help can be a variety of ways, right? I mean, God was one of them for me, right? Helped me by
number one, yes,
right. But having the courage to reach out to other people for help, and maybe people you know, maybe people you don't know. You know, I mean, I found that overwhelmingly people want to help other people. But if you don't ask and if they don't know, it's hard sometimes for them to realize that you might need help, right? So, it you can get through it. You know, to me, you got to find your faith, right? I mean, I couldn't have done it without that. And you got to stay close to that. Pray like you've never prayed before, right? Ask for guidance and listen more than anything. You know, like listen. Don't keep trying to control things. Like
I tell people that all the time. You got to quiet.
You got to quiet, and you know, and you gotta surrender, and you gotta keep moving forward. I know that sounds like cliche, you know. Like
no, the cliche one is God will never give you more than you can handle. Everybody knows that, but
which is true too, right? I mean,
but we have to play a part in that, right?
Yeah.
You pray for patience. He doesn't give you patience. He tests your patience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you gotta keep working through it. Keep moving forward. You know, and again, biggest thing is, you know, find other people that can help you. You know, talk to other people, because that takes a big weight off yourself.
Surround yourself in the community. Yes.
Yep. Surround yourself in the community. In many ways. So, and you know, and then you know, moving a step beyond that, like, and your past doesn't define you.
Yeah.
You don't have to. If you're at your low point, that doesn't have to be like your life forever. You don't have to.
It's not your future.
To live that. It's not your future. You can move on. You can get better. You will find a better avenue, right? And that tough point in your life will make you better in your future self as well.
Yeah. No, I love that. No, I'm grateful for that. And, you know, hopefully everybody can find the strength. And a couple things I heard you say is focus on your mind, your body, your faith. Do all those things to make the better version of yourself. And for some people, it's so hard to give up whatever they're doing or dealing with that they kind of stay in this stuck. So,
Yeah.
I always found when I hit low points in my life, getting into the gym, getting into church, really focusing on myself is the thing that helps fill me back up to be able to handle whatever it is I'm dealing with. So
Yeah, 100%, man. Get yourself into church certainly helps, right? Even if you just go sit there.
Yeah.
And don't say anything. And don't just go sit there.
Just be filled.
Just be filled, and get your mind and your body in the best possible position you can. It all helps. It all adds up. All those incremental things add up to help you get you out of that place.
Hey, man, I just want to say thank you. I know that was like a hard thing. Nobody likes to go down the past road of hardship, and I know it's, I know especially like even just talking about with my wife, I never like to go backwards and go down these roads and talk about hard things because it kind of brings it up and it brings it back, and I'm really grateful that you did that with me, and I think that's one of the most beautiful thing that makes you is how God took something and defined you and just made you this amazing person. And I do want to thank you for going down that road. Now I want to get into the good stuff. All right, that was the hard stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. So one of the most important things in your life, because that's one way you and I connect, is being a dad. I know for me and for you has just been one of the most incredible gifts that God has given us, and having the daughters and just getting the flexibility and opportunity. And I know you're like me, it's just like you're constantly in Disney and you're going to the lake and you love experiences with your family. Tell us a little bit about your family. We're both married to Ashley's,
yeah,
which comes with its own challenges and things like that. So Ashley's, forgive us, but
yeah. Mostly blessings, a few challenges.
Good one. Just kidding. Anyway, so tell us a little bit about your family. You got 3 girls and a wife, and tell us a little bit about each one and what they're like. And
yeah, my wife Ashley, we've been married, gosh, what is it, coming up on 19 years, I think it is. So and together longer than that.
An easy 19 years, never just always
piece of cake.
Piece of cake. Here you go.
Cake. Yeah, she's been with me on the ride for a long time, man. For sure. She's actually had one of the great things about her, a lot of great things about her, right? She's always supports me, no matter where I go, what I want to do. She's always been supportive of that. She's actually worked in this industry for a long period of time, which kind of helps. I mean, she understands it.
Yeah.
She understands my role and the demands and all that stuff. So that does help. But yeah, she's awesome, man. She really is, and she is. We all think our wives are the best mothers, but man, I mean, I guess I'll put it this way: my girls could not have a better mother than her, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she puts all her energy, time, effort into raising my 3 amazingly beautiful girls, man, and she does it well.
Yeah,
she does it very well. My daughters, Kinsley's 12, almost a teenager. Acts like a teenager some days.
She's a dancer, Nuggets fan.
Dancer, Nuggets fan. Yeah, dancing is her passion, and the Nuggets thing surprised me. I took her to her first game. I didn't think that. Not having any boys, I was like, man, sports just aren't a future.
And she's a dancer. She's like,
kids. Yeah. And the Nuggets took off with her. I mean, that. I mean, we've been to a lot of games together and stuff. So it's nice to be able to share some sports passion with her. But amazing girl, absolutely amazing girl.
Yeah, I love your kids.
Blake is 6. She'll be 7 here in a couple weeks. She's a little ball of fire. That I love about her. I mean, but she is kind of my ride or die little girl.
Oh yeah, Blake's the one in the Nuggets suite. She's in the closet looking hair blown out, just ready to bite somebody's ankles or something.
up for anything.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. And she definitely holds her own too.
Yeah.
But another beautiful girl, and then. Lawson, a cool story. Definitely a little bit of a surprise that you kind of mentioned earlier. She was a surprise, really. Very much a blessing, but a surprise too. We had to, it took a while for us to get Blake here, so we didn't think having another one naturally was even a thing, right?
Yeah.
We had actually been kind of talking about do we do this one more time or whatnot, and we're kind of at that decision point, and all of a sudden, Ashley tells me she's pregnant with Lawson. So it's like, well, God answered that prayer too, or made that decision for us. Right?
Yeah.
And he really did. it was a surprise, and it was starting over again, you know. And I was, what was I, 44 at the time when we had her, 45. So starting over, right? Older
Yep.
dad, right? Even older dad than I already was before.
Pretty common, yep.
You know, but man, what a blessing she's been. She just turned 2, gorgeous as the other 2.
Yep.
And you know, it's so cool to see those 3.
She's got the curly hair.
Curly hair, yeah. You know, those 3 different distinct ages interact with each other. Makes for such a cool household.
Yeah.
You know, but they, you know, the older 2 do a great job taking care of Lawson, and you know, again, you know, that part of God's plan. You know, Lawson came shortly after we moved back here, and I got back. You know, it's just like he laid out this plan beautifully, and Lawson was a beautiful part of it. So yeah, we just got back from another Disney World trip. We love to go there. Absolutely love to go there. You know, we love the rides and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we love all that, but you know, we usually go there for, you know, about a week at a time maybe, and I love that we're all there together in that bubble doing every single thing together.
When there's a smile on the girls' faces, I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, that's the magic behind it, yeah.
And you know, the best moments of that, and you know, some of the things I enjoy about Disney the most, a couple things that stand out, aren't the rides and aren't the food and stuff like that, right? I like walking down those streets,
Holding their hands.
hold my girls' hands. You know, I love that, and they, for whatever reason, they want to do that more there than anywhere. You know, so I enjoy that. You know, and from this recent trip, it was kind of a emotional thing for me, but cool at the same time. You know, they do that Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, you know, dressing
Oh, yeah,
as
yeah.
princess type
I
thing,
saw
right?
that picture, yeah.
And Blake had done it before, Kinsley had done it before, but they'd never done it together before.
I saw that. That was a beautiful picture.
And we realized that 12 was the cutoff age, right? Once you're 13, they don't allow you to do that anymore.
Better get it in.
So we asked Kinsley, like, do you want to do this once with Blake? She's like, yeah, absolutely. I want to do it one more time, you know?
I think I saw a yellow and a blue dress.
Yeah. One was Ariel. Kinsley was Ariel. Blake was Belle. You know, so they did it together, which was amazing memory for me for the rest of my life, right? But, you know, for Kinsley specifically, you know, that was like her last time. And she'd done it like probably first when she was like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember her sitting in that chair when she was that age. And this time when they got her all done up, they spun her around and they said, introducing for the last time Kinsley Geisler as a princess, right? Because she can't do it anymore, right? It's just like, it kind of hits you a little bit emotionally that she's not that little girl anymore.
I know.
You know? But also so cool that she's grown up to be such a beautiful girl.
Such an amazing girl.
You know? So a couple of things that stand out why we like to do that so much. But
It is so. Harper's kind of in this age too. I know you know Harper well.
Yeah.
Harper's 8 now, and just the mannerisms that they start to make as they get older, and just the whys. I mean, it's funny. Harper, she was kind of having struggles with this. She wasn't having struggles. You know, girls in 3s are never a good idea because somebody always feels left out. And you know, there's this girl, you know, and they always, all 3 of them. Well, one of them always felt left out, but because she always felt left out, she always kind of started a little more like, you know, pushing and prodding and things like that. And so one day Harper gets in the truck. I'm like, well, what is that like? You know, explain to me what's going on. She says, Dad, picture it like this. Just like that. Dad, picture it
I
like
can
this.
hear that.
Imagine a river that's flowing, right? The river's just flowing and it's going around the bends, and then all of a sudden you throw a big rock in it. It's still flowing, but it's just not flowing as good. That's what it's like. I said, holy cow. That is like one of the wisest things I've ever heard.
No doubt, yeah.
I was just, and she comes up with, and so, but now, because I said that's one of the wisest things, she goes, Dad, I'm a lot wiser than you. I'm probably the wisest in the house. And she probably believes that, but I'll
I can hear
tell
her
you.
voice saying that. Man.
She, you know, she is, I mean, you can't discredit their age sometimes
Yeah.
on how smart they are,
Yeah.
especially when it's my daughter and she hangs out with me enough. It's not surprising. So, but I will say, last night it was beautiful too. She's laying in bed and we always do our prayers. Now I lay me down to sleep, you know, and lately she's been open to like, hey, why don't you say a short prayer after that? And last night she's just like, God, just thanks for everything. Thanks for just making things perfect. You know, it's just this like true gratitude for God and what he's doing, and starting to see her kind of unfold like that. So when you're telling Kinsley and you see him grow up, it's like man, it's just such a beautiful thing. Even though they're getting older and
Yeah.
you're losing your baby, you're gaining like
Yeah.
something so beautiful. And you sit back, you go, maybe we're doing something right.
Yeah.
After all this, after all the, quarreling in the house and all the peaks and valleys of the house. And like you said, the kids are just along for the ride,
Yeah.
but they're seeing you and they're picking it up and they're getting the experiences. So it's like when we make family a priority in that way, it has its challenges, but
Yeah. It also holds you accountable too.
yeah. All right, so we're running out of time. Thank you for everything you've shared so far, and I love talking about family, and we know each other's kids, and truly, I haven't seen them enough.
Yeah.
Miss your family.
Likewise.
But let's talk about just a few more things here. The reality is you are the nation's top sales guy. Let me ask you, what's the difference between a good sales guy and a great salesperson? If you were to say, hey, this is, and not just you, but like, this is really the true definition between what makes someone good and what makes somebody great, standing for greatness.
You know, being your real authentic self, but being out there. One of the keys to success for me, right, is being out in front of people, like recognizing the value of seeing somebody face to face, having real conversations, seeing their emotions, letting your emotions out too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
being your real self in front of people as much as you can, right? But a lot of it's just, like being out there, being active, being in front of people, developing those relationships, letting them see parts of your real self. Don't just, you don't just have to be like a robot salesperson, that comes in with a pitch and a product and all that stuff, like people, I find people like to be real.
Get rid of the agenda is kind of what I'm hearing. Like people that have the agenda, but otherwise just being very authentic.
People like realness, like people that are real in front of them, and again, share their emotions, hear them, actually listen, and don't make it all just about work. Learn about their families, learn about their kids, learn about what's important to them, and and listen to them, and and making sure that you live up to what you commit to, and being honest. One of the most important things is being honest with them.
Yeah.
Right? Be real with them. If you screw something up, admit it, but then tell them how you're going to fix it, right, and be better the next time. If they call you, if somebody's calling you or asked to meet with you, like it should feel like an honor in a way. They're reaching out to you versus anybody else they could have picked for a reason. So value that. Show that you care to them by taking that call, whenever it is, or going to meet with them when they ask to meet with you. If they give you a problem, like genuinely, like I hope that they feel like
you're there to
they
help,
want to solve it.
not a
They
burden.
want to help, right? Yeah, that's not just like, oh man, I got to deal with this problem. It's such a pain in the butt. Like, no, that's actually helping that person, right? No matter how little you might think it is, it's helping that person through their day to make their job in their life a little bit easier, right? So try to look at it that way versus like a burden.
Somebody always says all these cliche things. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
So Harper and I got to meet Scott Hastings the other day, right?
Yeah.
So Kroenke Sports reaches out to me and says, hey, obviously they want me to do business with them and advertise Nuggets, Avalanche, whatever. Not pushy. So I meet Lori, and Kyle Speller, for anybody that doesn't know, is the one who's on the on-court announcer. Well, he sent me a happy birthday cameo a couple years ago, but it was epic. And I'm a huge Nuggets fan. As you know, we go to all the games and this and that. So when we were talking, I emailed her. I said, hey, here's a cameo from Kyle Speller I wanted to just share with you, right? Like, how cool is this? As we're kind of talking, and she goes, oh, Scott Hastings, who I bet would do that for you. You should meet him. I said, oh, man, like Scott Hastings is a legend. 30 years, Nuggets announcer, played in the NBA. She goes, I'll set up breakfast when I fly in. I was like, really? With Scott Hastings? That's so cool. Done. Can I bring my daughter? Absolutely. And the reason I'm telling you this is, so Friday morning, last Friday, we go to meet Scott Hastings at my breakfast choice, which is First Watch on 120th. He has to drive from Lone Tree. So there I am sitting in there. I'm a little nervous, but I'm like, you know what? I just want to treat it like a normal sit down like this right here. Nerves go away. Harper's there to help me get through it.
Yeah.
And kids always make it easier. And so Scott shows up, 6'11", you know, everybody's looking up, wearing a shirt that says Trophy Husband. Just hair, just such a cool guy. Lori walks in. We sit at our table. Scott is just so interested in Harper, talking about, what do you do? What do you like here? And they brought some championship rings from the Nuggets and Avs. Harper's wearing them, you know, and we talk about his lake house. We talk about anything but business. And it was the most amazing experience. And by the end, we ended up praying. I said, hey, let's all pray. Like, he's a big man of faith, talked about his journey, kind of like how he feels now. He just got let go after 30 years and kind of what it did, but how amazing it was when he got out of the league. He had a daughter at an older age, too, named Ellie. She's now 12, and he's in his 60s or something, right? So same story. He had a daughter at a very much older age. I think he was 54 when he had Ellie. Yeah. And now he's 66. She's 12. And he said it was such a blessing because I was trying to stay so hard in the league, chase the trophy. Wow. I'm just now seeing the thing. He was so hard chasing the trophy in the league that he missed the time with his family. And so when he had Ellie, it was such a blessing because he was now in this place where he could spend the time that he never got to before and what that's done. And so it's a really cool story. Well, by the end, I said, you guys want to talk? But he said, no, we don't need to talk business here. Gave us a hug, gave Harper a signed Jokic poster.
Oh, wow.
Took some cool photos and said, so nice to meet you. And we drove off, and that was that. And now when they call me for business, I am so much more entertained by what they have to offer because what a genuine feel and relationship. I had a question. I know we only have a few more minutes here. This might be a hard one, but as you were talking about, you're confident. When you're confident and you're in sales, it's a little easier to be genuine. What would you tell somebody that's maybe doing all that but doesn't have the confidence in themselves? Where do they start and how do they find that when they're trying to break into sales? That's a hard thing for you. You know somebody has what it takes. You want to see them succeed. They're trying their best to go out in front of people, be genuine and authentic. What is something maybe they could, what would you tell somebody that's struggling with that?
Yeah, well, so you gotta have the base in place, right? I mean, have your faith in place, your mind in a good spot, your body in a good spot, right? So that's a good base to start with.
I always tell them, spirit, go to church, shed the weight, hit the gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that alone, like doing those things alone, will boost your confidence, right? But then you gotta. I used to be this way too, right? When I was starting off in sales, it's like, oh man, Steve's like, he's the owner of Red Rock Roofing, this huge roofing company. I used to like work myself up before I'd go into meetings, be like, oh man, this is like the end all be all, whether I get this deal, whether I
or assuming a no or something.
Yeah, I mean all that stuff, right? But then what I learned is that people are people, right?
I'm just another guy.
I mean, if you're running a $1 million roofing business or you're running a $100 million roofing business, they're still people. They still have lives. They still have kids. They still go to church, go to the gym, whatever. They're just people. So once you realize that, it brings those nerves down, right? And you can walk in. You learn how to be more of yourself, realizing that that's what the person you're talking to probably wants too. They want to have a real conversation with a real person. And be able to get, maybe beyond some of the business talk and whatnot. So, do those things to build up your confidence, mind, faith, body, that will help get there. But then you almost have to train yourself a little bit and don't work yourself up too much before those meetings, right? Like, worst thing that's going to happen when you walk in and go talk to somebody is they're going to tell you, no, I'm not buying from you. That is the worst possible scenario, right?
Yeah.
And is that all that bad? I mean, yeah, you'd like the sale, you'd like the customer, all that stuff, but if it's a new person, a new opportunity, like you didn't have that business or that sale before, like, and you were fine. So kind of realizing to get there, right? And once you kind of break all that down, your confidence gets there, and then it leaves some more of these easy conversations.
Yeah. I like how you said people are people, and one thing I've always kind of told guys like that, don't be afraid to be authentic. If you were nervous going in there, don't try to act like something you're not.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to. I always say, like, don't be afraid to say, I was a little nervous coming in today because you were, the owner of whatever, and so it kind of felt. and you kind of break that ice then, and they can go, dude, don't be nervous, have
Yeah.
a seat, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And you can kind of break that ice and they can see, and you go, oh, I don't have to be nervous, you know? So whatever you're feeling, be authentic about it and don't be afraid to show it. Whereas some guys, you know, they try to kind of conform into something that they're not, and then it's more uncomfortable than just going in there and being yourself. And if you are nervous, that's a good thing. If you're not nervous before you go on big stage, you're probably not actually human unless you've done it enough times. You know exactly what you're going to say, and the
Yeah.
repetition is there. But
Well, heck, man, I told you I was a little nervous coming in here today.
there you go. Hopefully, I've calmed your nerves a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last questions, okay? So, being that this is Standing for Greatness in the Mile High, what would you say standing for greatness means to you if you had to kind of sum it up?
Standing for greatness. Being the best possible version of yourself. But in that, you know, I mean, honesty in doing what you say you're going to do go a long ways, right? I think if you're just real with people, you're open, you're honest, and you follow that up with what you actually discuss or what, you know, with the plan that you come up with. You know, I think that is what helps make you great. You know, realizing who you are, knowing that you're trying to be the best possible version of yourself, but then also helping others to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, through working hard, through being honest with them. You know, I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, lead by example.
Yeah.
Show those traits and then lead by example. I think that's great. I know we're running out of time, so I can't share what I've got. But all right, Dana, I know. You've become a leader in an industry, a husband, a father, and someone who has impacted countless people. If your daughters were watching this 20 years from now, what would you want them to know about the man and their dad that you chose to become?
That's a tough one, man.
This is where those tissues are needed, huh?
Yeah, maybe. You know, I mean, first and foremost, I'd want them to know that, you know, I'm doing all this for them. Like, so much of my life and what I do on a day-to-day basis is all for them. Like, they're my world. You know, through trying to keep it together here. through the challenges, through the successes, and probably mostly the challenges. Like, you know, they're a big part of what got me through was wanting to be the best possible dad that I could for them. And that's in my mind every day. You know, when I wake up, when I go to work, when I'm at work, when I face challenges, sometimes when I ask, like, man, why am I doing this? You know, it very quickly goes back to I'm doing it for them, right? I want to give them the best life that I possibly can. And a lot of that I can only do if I'm the best possible me, right? I mean, I got to be at my best to give them my best, right? So that's why I've worked so hard to get to that point. You know, I wasn't always there. That's why I worked so hard to become who I am today, right? And work through when I wasn't my best. I mean, they were the light at the end of the tunnel, and
they gave you a reason to keep going.
Gave me a reason to keep going, and will always be my reason to keep going. And you know, in 20 years when they look at this, I would love if they look back and say, my dad was a good guy. You know, like, we knew I want them to know that how important they are to me, and that I want them to realize that everything that I did was for them, and that they knew how much they were loved, that I did everything I could possibly do to be there for them at every single event, every single thing I had going on. I wanted to say, like, Dad took the time with us, Dad played with us, Dad did all these things, and want them to realize that this is all for them, how important they are, and I hope they see my faith and how that's transformed, because I see it transforming in them, and that's one of my proudest accomplishments, is I see the faith transforming in them. And I hope in 20 years that faith has continued to ignite and grow with them, and that it stays with them. And if that happens, then like mission accomplished. Yeah, mission accomplished. And the biggest goal in my life is to help get my family to heaven. If I can do my part in that, that is my biggest goal.
There's no doubt in my mind, everything you just hoped for will be said in 20 years from now. I'm sure of it. And, I think as fathers, and I'm speaking to my family now, as, me personally, I was, my story, foster families, just met my real dad. Actually just met one of my sisters last Sunday that we'd never met before. And so as I'm going down this journey of meeting more people, it was a really rough life growing up. So when I became a dad, it was one of the most important things. But for all dads, all good dads, I'm not going to say all dads are good, but for all good dads, I would say, no matter what we're carrying, no matter what we're going through, no matter what we want in our life, whether it is that car, whatever, it's like we put it all aside and show up every day to ensure that our families' lives have stability, security, that we organize our life in a way that we can make all those events, like you said, so we can do the drop-offs and pickups, and so that 20 years from now, our daughters, our sons will say, no, my dad's not perfect, but I'll tell you what, he sure loved me, and he's a good guy. And hopefully, I always said growth, whatever it is, growth, money, none of it matters. Growth is not how far ahead you are, it's the amount of impact you have. And so, through all the challenges and everything, me, that's why we connect so well, as Harper is, means everything to me. And
I know, brother.
Every morning I wake up, it's like we don't want to leave the house until they're awake and we get to say that goodbye. We don't stay out late so we don't miss a bedtime.
Yeah.
And when you do, it's even this many years later. I mean, how hard is it? I talk to you, it's like you and I, it's like when you tell me no to something, I'm like, I get it. Yeah. We don't want to leave. We want to be there every moment we can and savor those moments and enjoy those moments. And so, Dana, you are one of the best fathers, best examples of what a dad and a human being and a leader, and like the accolades are just the byproduct, right? Like all that just comes with all those things that I see in you. And so, having you just sit here with me for an hour and just your friendship and everything we've had over the last couple of years, and everything you said is not just saying, it's like I get to experience that from you, like the way you answer the phone, the way you connect, the way you think about me, and your friendship, and the way you raise your girls is just 100% in line with everything you just talked about. And so I'm really grateful for that.
Brother, you're a big time role model for me. I mean, you have all those same qualities and then some. I mean, you make me want to be better as well. And every time I'm around you and I see all the stuff you're doing with your kids and your family, part of success is surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be like. And you are very much one of those people to me. Like you help hold me accountable because I see how damn good you are at all those things, man. And you make me want to be even better. So thank you for that, and thank you for the friendship, man. It means the world to me. It really does.
You're welcome. And just like you, I'm sure we have our own struggles behind closed doors, and what we see, and we're all still facing our own challenges, and we have that. But I'm glad we can have each other to push each other to just be strong, be courageous, keep showing up, and never give up. So to those who are listening, I mean, we just, the success is really in what we just finished with. So,
100%.
well, everybody, that is Standing for Greatness in the Mile High. You just met Dana Gistler, one of the best guys you'll ever know.
Thank you, brother.